As I've mentioned in my top 10 Smash Bros. Items video, my absolute favorite item in the Smash Bros. Universe is the Pokéball. Nothing adds more chaos to a match, especially in the new expanded 8-player matches, than adding an additional random AI fighter into the game. Smash Bros. 3DS and Wii U added a nice handful of new pocket monsters into the mix, even including the new Master Ball item that spawns only powerful legendary Pokémon. And Zoroark, for some reason. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the best new Pokémon never before seen in a previous Smash Bros. Game. Helping us in today's analysis is Sunder, aka Rival Jimmy, who you might know either from his own video game level analysis channel or as a Pokémon researcher over on the National Dexys channel. With Jimmy's help, we've assembled a list of our favorite new Pokémon from the new Smash Bros. Titles. They might not all be the most powerful, but they're definitely the ones we had the most fun unleashing.
Number 10.
Gogoat. When Pokémon X and Y were first announced, one of the first big things we heard was that you could ride a Pokémon on land, particularly the new grass type Gogoat. Unfortunately, while riding Pokémon sounds great on paper, it's kind of
lame. Plodding through Lumio City on a Gogoat feels slow and boring. X and Y even makes riding the pre-evolution Skiddo much more fast and exciting. How could the first rideable Pokemon have been this sad? Thankfully, Smash 4 finally gave this baby a chance to shine.
While it might not be perfect, you can hop onto a Gogoat and ride it straight into battle, giving you a fast-moving platform that you can still perform standing smash attacks on. Just be careful for your opponents. One wrong move, and you might experience a case of Grand Theft Gogoat.
Number 9.
Palkia. Wait, wasn't Palkia in Smash Bros. Brawl?
This is true. Palkia first showed up in Super Smash Bros. Brawl's Spear Pillar stage, where it could summon a variety of attacks that warp the stage. In Smash Bros. 4, it appears again to unleash its signature attack, Spatial Rend, to flip the entire stage upside down.
So you're telling me that Palkia had more attacks in Smash Bros. Brawl than it does as a Pokéball Pokemon here?
Well, it's simple. In Brawl, Palkia only shows up as a Spear Pillar guest, and once it does, you're constantly expecting the stage to flip upside down the entire time it's there. In the new Smash Bros., Palkia can show up to wreck the party at any moment. Upside down giant stages, upside down moving stages, the momentary loss of control when the entire board flips is enough to send any game into a frenzy, and the added unpredictability element actually makes Palkia feel crazier than ever.
Number 8.
Meletta. Meletta doesn't seem that impressive at first, but its echoed voice attack is actually pretty intense.
It fires 2 high-speed projectiles at a time that rack up damage as they reflect off multiple surfaces, including players and walls. In a tight enough stage or with enough players, these seemingly harmless bouncing ping-pong balls can really deal a lot of damage.
Number 7.
Abomasnow. Abomasnow is a lot like Charizard from the first anime seasons. 50% of the time, he's an absolute terror that crushes all in its path. The other 50% of the time, he's like, no, you don't have the badges to train me.
I think the lame part TheJWittz is referring to is Blizzard. While an excellent staple move in the Pokemon games, it's much less exciting in Smash Bros. This is closer to a snowflake than a blizzard. It's like a Los Angeles blizzard. But Ice Punch is crazy. Abomasnow lunges forward and launches his opponents while also encasing them in ice, and because he can move pretty freely horizontally, it's not uncommon for Abomasnow to break up a fight on the other side of the screen.
Thanks, Obama.
Number 6.
Arceus. While I will admit that I expected a little bit more out of the god of all Pokemon, Arceus actually does provide an extremely interesting attack. Gravity.
Why gravity though? Dozens of other Pokemon can learn it. Shouldn't Arceus, the all-powerful god Pokemon, have some way to intensely judge his subjects? You know, like the world is courthouse and Arceus is the judge?
I don't know why Arceus doesn't have judgment either, Jimmy. But what is important is that it's actually a ton of fun. Every time it pulses, every mid-air character other than you is immediately shot downward. Have a bunch of standing fighters and it might seem really underwhelming, but if you actively take advantage of the power and try and throw your opponents off stage, Arceus will immediately send them down to their doom. It forces your opponents to cling onto any platform they can for dear life, just like Sandra Bullock.
Why Sandra Bullock?
You know, because gravity.
I hate you.
Number 5.
Kellyoh. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Kellyoh does have its signature move here. Secret Sword, and man is it vicious.
Just look at the range on this thing. You might feel like you're at a safe distance away from the cult Pokemon, but its massive arc makes it easy to catch you off guard.
Also, just look at how long this guy stays in play. Most legendary Pokemon only stop by for a few big attacks, but Kellyoh is a constant presence.
An unwise trainer once told his Pokemon to aim for the horn in order to win its battle. Here, I suggest anything but that. Stay far away from the horn.
Number 4.
Zoroark. Zoroark gets the nod here not for strength, but for style. With Fury Swipes, it essentially lifts its opponent into a final smash, before plummeting them back down to earth. There isn't a huge explosion with knockback at the end, but this is essentially the final smash of Ike or Greninja or something.
Well, it would make sense for the illusion Pokemon to copy something from someone else.
Either way, this is by far the most style I've ever seen from a single Pokeball Pokemon, and Zoroark gets serious credit for that.
Number 3.
Genesect. The legendary Paleozoic Pokemon lives. Genesect alternates between short bursts and a giant laser with Genesect's signature attack, Technoblast. I bet you love that one, Jimmy.
Love what one?
Technoblast.
I don't get it. Why?
You know, cause techno? Cause like, techno is what Skrillex does, and both you guys have the hair thing and the rimmed glasses. And
You done?
yeah, you know, now that I've got that out of my system, I think I'm good.
Much more importantly, Genesect's Technoblast is just nasty. It fires very quickly, shoots through walls, covers the entire horizontal stage, and deals 30% plus considerable knockback. Genesect gets 2 of them, which is enough to score at least 1 KO in a group, even more if you're playing with 8. Talking about that base cannon, right? Am I right? Alright.
Number 2.
Darkrai.
In the main series games, Darkrai's Dark Void attack is ridiculous, allowing him to put multiple opponents to sleep in double and triple battles with just a single attack. Smash Bros. Darkrai is a pretty good emulation of the nightmares that he can bring.
In Smash, Dark Void is an enormous circular projectile that pulls every opponent around it in for damage. On top of that, once the attack ends, anyone caught in the void will remain, you guessed it, fast asleep, helpless to your next attack. This is Blossom on steroids, and I always thought Blossom was pretty good.
While Darkrai is really solid in groups, it's especially deadly in games with less players, leaving the sleeping opponents all to yourself to punish.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree?
What? No, I agree.
Number 1.
Giratina. In Smash Bros, plenty of final smashes are geared toward carrying you straight off the stage horizontally. The gross part about Giratina is that it gets 3 of them.
Giratina's Dragon Breath is just about as potent as Samus, Mario, or Wii Fit Trainer's Final Smash, and on top of that, even touching Giratina's body away from the blast deals extra damage.
You can't simply run behind it either, because if there aren't any enemies in the direction Giratina is facing, it'll simply turn around in between its blasts.
Needless to say, if any Pokemon is going to bring your opponents into the distortion world, Giratina is your best bet.
While new characters are certainly the biggest topic when it comes to new Smash Bros. Games, one of my favorite reveals of each installment is finding out which new Pokemon outside of the main roster have come to battle. I'd argue that this new batch is pretty sweet. Thanks for watching today's Top 10. As always, if you enjoyed this video, you can click the subscribe button right below to get alerts when new videos are coming out. Also, special thanks to Jimmy for helping out with today's video. If you want to check out a level analysis that we did together on one of our favorite Smash Bros. 3DS stages, you can click right here to check that video out. I'll see you guys next time with more Nintendo content.